The WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 21 minutes before 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. This is the segment of AM Ocala Live that we call News Bites. We take news from around the world, around the nation, around the state, and around Ocala and Marion County, and we deliver it to you abbreviated. We shorten the news so that you can get the point and move on to the next story. We squeeze in about 20 or 25 stories during the course of the segment, and it gives you an opportunity to catch up on as many news stories in a short period of time as is possible. Gives us an opportunity to put news back in News Talk. And remember, it is growing in popularity, which means more listeners for your advertising dollars. If you'd like to advertise on this or any show on WOCA, give us a call at 732-8000. Don't speak to Robin. Don't speak to me. Speak to Joe or Dan or Tish.
Yep.
And they will sit with you. And if you want to come into the studio, that's fine too. And they will show you how you can advertise on WOCA, make your dollars work for you so you'll have more dollars. All right. The first story is just one of those ones you'd have to shake your head over. I'm getting it from CNN. And this is what it says. An uncle of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has been executed for trying to overthrow the government, according to the Korean Central News Agency in a report issued this morning. Traitor Jang Song-thaek executed was the headline posted by the state-run news agency about the man who, until recently, had been regarded as the nation's second most powerful figure. The story said that a special military tribunal had been held yesterday against the, quote, traitor for all ages, unquote, who was accused of trying to overthrow the state by all sorts of intrigues and despicable methods. And that was a quote again. It added another quote, all the crimes committed by the accused were proved in the course of hearing and were admitted by him, unquote. Once his guilt was established, Jang was immediately executed, according to the report. The KCNA report described Jang as a, quote, despicable human scum, unquote, and another quote, worse than a dog, and said he had betrayed his party and leader. Wow. What a horrible story. It was the uncle of the leader. Wow.
Missiles fired by a U.S. drone slammed into a convoy of vehicles traveling to a wedding party in central Yemen yesterday, killing at least 13 people, Yemen security officials said. The officials said the attack took place in the city of Rada, the capital of Beta province, and left charred bodies and burnt-out cars on the road. The city, a stronghold of al-Qaeda militants, witnessed deadly clashes early last year between armed tribesmen backed by the military and al-Qaeda gunmen in an attempt to drive them out of the city. There were no immediate details on who was killed in the strike, and there were conflicting reports about whether there were militants traveling with the wedding convoy. A military official said initial information indicated the drone mistook the wedding party for an al-Qaeda convoy. He said tribesmen known to the villagers were among the dead, reported by MSNBC.
And this one is from the New York Times. For a third and final day, the body of Nelson Mandela was lying in state this morning in a glass-topped coffin outside the Union Buildings in Pretoria, the capital, as thousands of South Africans waited in the heat to catch a final glimpse of the man they credit with unifying the nation following the end of the apartheid rule. As the crowds filed by, public attention began to shift to Kunu, a remote village in the Eastern Cape, Mr. Mandela's childhood home, where he is to be buried in a state funeral on Sunday, the last formal moment in the 10-day national mourning period that has confronted many South Africans with questions about the post-Mandela era. Military jets roared through the skies over Kunu this morning in a rehearsal for the state funeral. Hundreds of soldiers lined up along a main highway, and a brigade of satellite trucks and cameras sprouted on a hill overlooking the Green Village as a nation and the world prepared to give Mr. Mandela a final farewell.
The White House faced an uproar from journalists yesterday over a lack of access to President Obama, including a virtual blackout of photographs during his nearly 40-hour flight to South Africa and back this week for the memorial service for Nelson Mandela. White House Press Secretary Jay Carney was besieged by questions from the press corps, some of whom accused the Obama White House of being less open to the media than his predecessor, Republican George W. Bush. Many journalists reminded Mr. Carney of Mr. Obama's claim that he is running the most transparent administration in history, reported by the Washington Times.
And this story from the Wall Street Journal. It was love at first sight when Willard Scott first spotted The Hut, a one-bedroom, one-bathroom waterfront cottage in Guilford, Connecticut. About 10 years ago, Mr. Scott, best known for his 3-decade-long career as a weatherman on NBC's Today Show, was walking along the shore when he spied the cedar-shingled house, which reminded him of the fishing cottages he had seen in Ireland. He said, "I saw this place, and I said, that's the house I've been looking for all my life." He said, "I didn't care what it was going to cost." He said he had to have the house. He bought the historic Mulberry Point Road property for $1.2 million 10 years ago without ever setting foot inside of it. So it is appropriate that love is the reason Mr. Scott is selling The Hut, which is now on the market for $975,000 with William Pitt Sotheby's International Realty. Mr. Scott, who freely admits he paid way too much for the cottage, is now selling because his girlfriend recently purchased a house in nearby Noank. I'm going to sort of move in with her, said Mr. Scott, who is 79 years old, whose wife Mary died in 2002. Now, semi-retired, Willard Scott spends much of his time in his native Virginia and travels to Connecticut about once a month.
When red-suited revelers throng the city streets and taverns under the banner of SantaCon, some see an outpouring of holiday spirit, not to mention spirits. But to others, it's the blight before Christmas. After complaints about boorish, bar-hopping St. Nick's got attention from local officials and police, the event's ringleaders are trying to quell the Santa controversy ahead of this year's gathering tomorrow. They're pledging to advise police of their usually guarded plans, have volunteers help control the roving crowd of Kringles, and send the message that SantaCon is meant to be a festive culture jam, not a bad Santa bender. This is a quote. This year, the event's website says, "We are cleaning up Santa's act. It's a coming-of-age moment for SantaCon, which traces its origin to a consumer culture tweaking Santarchy in San Francisco in 1994. And now spans events in more than 300 cities worldwide. Fueled by the wildfire word spreading of social media, the New York celebration has become one of the biggest, mushrooming in roughly a decade from a few hundred bearded boozers to tens of thousands by some estimates. Enthusiasts say the day-long event starts at 10 a.m., and aims to put a cheeky modern spin on holiday traditions while generating money for both bars and charities. Participants are instructed to make $10 charitable donations, and they're encouraged to bring small gifts to bestow on one another and passersby, by the Associated Press.
Next story is from CNN. The Federal Communications Commission voted 3-2 yesterday to consider lifting its ban on in-flight cell phone use on the same day the Federal Department of Transportation and 3 members of Congress took steps to block those calls. Secretary of Transportation Michael Fox said in a statement to CNN that he is looking into the possibility of banning in-flight calls, citing its Aviation Consumer Protection Authority. The Department of Transportation will determine whether allowing calls is fair to consumers. While many people consider the idea of cell phone conversations annoying in the close confines of an airplane, some are casting it as a consumer rights issue.
The wife of an American pastor imprisoned for his faith in Iran said she was shocked to learn the U.S. government had been conducting secret negotiations with Iran, even as State Department officials told her they could do little to free her husband because the nations have no diplomatic relations. Nagma Abedini, whose husband, Saeed Abedini, is serving an 8-year prison term in Iran after being arrested more than a year ago, while visiting his homeland. She felt betrayed when she later learned U.S. diplomats were negotiating a nuclear agreement with Iran, even while claiming nothing could be done for her husband, reported by Fox News.
And this is an entertainment piece from ABC News. Tom Hanks always seems to transform into the characters that he plays on screen, but in the movie Saving Mr. Banks, his resemblance to his character, Walt Disney, is uncanny. According to the actor, who is 57 years old, it wasn't an overnight transformation. Not only did he grow his own mustache, but he also spent 2 days poring over archival recordings at Disney's Family Museum in San Francisco. The Walt Disney Company is the parent company of ABC News. I spent 6 hours there each day, Tom Hanks told ABC News Radio at the premiere of the movie, which hits theaters today. I looked at every piece of video and heard every piece of audio and looked at every piece of artifact that there was. The two-time Academy Award winner said that his job was especially stressful because he was playing the creator of Disney in a Disney film on the Disney lot. Bob Iger, Disney's CEO, even called Hanks personally to say how important the movie was. Anytime you are playing someone real, you have to have a philosophy going for as much authenticity as you can, Hanks said. It is kind of like playing Teddy Roosevelt or playing Carl Sandburg. You are a mixture of myth and record. You don't want to screw that up. You try to live up to it.
Yeah, I want
that
to
movie
see
comes
that
out
movie.
today, huh?
Yeah, it does. A landmark study shows a drug can more than halve the development of breast cancer in high-risk women. A trial on 4,000 women published in The Lancet showed anastrozole was more effective, cheaper, and had fewer side effects than current medications. It stops the production of the hormone estrogen, which fuels the growth of the majority of breast cancers. Doctors and campaigners are asking health services to consider offering the drug to healthy women. Some countries already offer the drug tamoxifen and reticycline to prevent breast cancer, reported by the BBC.
And this is from CNN. Military retirees are outraged that Congress will start voting on a budget deal that trims military pensions, calling the move an egregious breach of faith. Did I say that word right? Egregious. The military coalition, some 27 military groups, wrote to leaders in Congress and President Obama about their strong objection and grave concern over the budget deal. The deal cuts pension cost of living raises by 1% for military retirees who are not disabled and not yet 62 years old. Cost of living hikes are automatic raises intended to keep up with inflation. The problem is most military retirees are a lot younger than private sector retirees. They enlist in their 20s and retire in their 40s. Very few stay on till they are 62. Those who may be lucky enough to escape major injuries at war or rose to a higher echelon in the military system. When compounded, the 1% could cut. The 1% cut could result in much more than a 20% cut in retiree pension over the course of 20 years.
The half-brother of golf star Tiger Woods was arrested yesterday in Phoenix for allegedly making a false bomb threat at the government building where he works. Phoenix police said 58-year-old Dennison Woods Jr. is accused of calling in the threat at the Department of Economic Security building about 8:30 a.m. yesterday. Police say they were called after DES employees alerted building security. More than 100 people were evacuated from the building before Woods came forward and told police the phone call was meant as a joke, and he didn't expect his co-workers to take it seriously. Police said Woods had been booked on suspicion of attempting to terrify, intimidate, threaten, or harass others. They say Woods is apologetic and cooperating with the investigation. It's unclear if he has a lawyer. And on a side note, his daughter, Cheyenne, is a professional golfer. Well, this is reported by Associated Press. What's wrong with these people getting jollies out of hurting others?
Next story is from Reuters news agency. David L. Strickland, who oversaw a massive Toyota recall and helped formulate plans to dramatically boost U.S. fuel efficiency standards as head of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, is stepping down, according to a statement from his office issued yesterday. The date of Strickland's departure was not announced, but the NHTSA said his deputy, David Friedman, would be the acting director. Strickland became chief of the NHTSA in January of 2011 after 8 years as counsel to a subcommittee of the Senate Commerce, Science, and Transportation Committee, which has oversight of the NHTSA.
At least 3 people were stabbed in a parking lot at Sports Authority Stadium Field at Mile High after the Denver Broncos game last night. Police spokesman Steve Warnecki said 3 males were stabbed and a 4th may have been stabbed, but that person left the scene. Police have several other people in custody and are not currently looking for other suspects. None had been formally charged as of just after midnight. Police say that the incident was called in at 9:55 p.m. Warnecki described the scene as very chaotic. He said police did not yet know what led up to the fight or whether the men had attended the game. Warnecki said one person was initially in critical condition, but all are conscious and talking. The stabbing last night is just one of several recent incidents involving football fans. Earlier this month in Kansas City, Missouri, a man died after an altercation in the Arrowhead Stadium parking lot during Kansas City's game against Denver, reported by the Associated Press.
And this story also from the Associated Press. A woman survived nearly 3 nights in bitter interior Alaska, the cold weather, by burning her snowmobile and huddling with her small dog, according to Alaska State Troopers in a statement issued yesterday. 57-year-old Vivian Mayo of Cantwell, Alaska, was found at about 1 a.m. Wednesday, taking shelter under the burned-out hulk of her snowmobile and sharing body heat with Elvis, a small brown dog of unknown breed. She was severely hypothermic and in need of immediate medical attention, according to troopers. Megan Peters, a spokeswoman for the troopers, said the dog likely helped Mayo preserve her body heat. It really did help save her life, Peters said. Elvis is a little hero. Mayo's ordeal began over the weekend. She and her husband, 61-year-old Scott Mayo, traveled on snowmobiles to a cabin near mile 105 of Denali Highway, a mostly gravel east-west road east of Denali National Park and Preserve. The highway connects 2 paved highways, but is not maintained during winter months and is not open to cars and trucks. Scott Mayo departed the cabin by snowmobile Saturday to check on a trap line that started 4 to 5 miles away. He had not returned by Sunday. The Mayos were not due back to Cantwell, a community at the west side of the Denali Highway, until Tuesday night, and Vivian Mayo made the decision to return to Cantwell and seek help for her husband. She did not get far. Her snowmobile broke down Sunday about a mile from the cabin. The Mayos had told family members that they would be back by 7 p.m., and if they weren't, back by 10 p.m. to alert authorities. Family members called troopers Tuesday night, and according to Alaska Wildlife Trooper James Ellison, and volunteer rescuers headed out and found Vivian Mayo in about 3 hours. Peter said Mayo was starting her 3rd night in the frigid temperatures, which dipped to minus 20 degrees. And I guess the dog kept her alive. Doesn't say what happened to the husband.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow.
Wow. Vice President Joe Biden has been known to provide fodder for the late night shows with a well-timed gaffe or two, but at an award ceremony last night, it was a furry blue Muppet who was the comic relief. When Grover, in a skit before the ceremony, spotted Biden with Senator John McCain, a Republican from Arizona, in the audience, he couldn't help but make a comment on the current state partisan politics. This is a quote from Grover: "Sitting together? Awkward." But the night star was Biden, who was honored by an array of dignitaries for his contributions to international diplomacy. McCain and the vice president's son, Hunter Biden, took the stage at the U.S. Global Leadership Coalition dinner to hand off the award. The younger Biden is chairman of the United Nations World Food Programme's U.S. chapter, while McCain served with the vice president on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee.
And the next story is from the Associated Press. Bob Barker's 90th birthday present is urging one more contestant to come on down from the audience on The Price is Right. The veteran game show host at the helm of The Price is Right from 1972 until 2007 was invited back by the current host, Drew Carey, yesterday to celebrate the 90th birthday milestone. He moved a little more slowly and his microphone was a little thicker, but Barker fell right back into the groove. The audience gave him a standing ovation, and he joined Drew Carey in encouraging viewers to spay or neuter their pets, Barker's longtime cause.
What is the center of the Bitcoin universe? With a completely decentralized digital currency like Bitcoin, it's hard to say, but today Silicon Valley took a serious step toward claiming those bragging rights. That's because one of the Valley's most important venture capitalist firms, Andreessen Horowitz, made the biggest bet yet on a Bitcoin company, dropping $25 million on Coinbase, a company that's trying to make it easier for consumers and merchants to use the digital currency. It's the largest ever investment in a Bitcoin company, and it's a sign that Bitcoin may be becoming a Silicon Valley phenomenon. This is a quote from Andreessen Horowitz's Chris Dixon. Bitcoin is going to be as big as the internet. This is reported by Wired.
Just might, too. The next story is also from Wired. Beware, Google just made it easier for people to know if you're opening their email messages. Today, the web giant announced a change to its popular Gmail service. Images embedded in emails will now be automatically displayed, saving users from clicking on a display image link, and Google claims making your messages more safe and secure. But buried in the fine print, a different picture emerges. The new setup also means that people and companies who send you email will be able to find out when you opened or read their opened and read their messages, because loading these images requires a call back to the sender's server.
The U.S. military spent nearly $500 million on providing refurbished aircraft to the Afghan Air Force, only to abandon the contract and leave the planes collecting dust on airfields in Kabul and Germany. With the planes potentially heading for the trash heap of the Afghanistan war, the chief military watchdog overseeing Afghanistan spending is launching a review into the terminated program. This is a quote from Special Inspector General John F. Sopko. "I'm very troubled with the fact we may have wasted $500 million on planes that don't work, will never be flown, and will probably be scrapped. We intend to get to the bottom of this and hold people accountable," reported by Fox News.
All right, that's all the time we have for News Bites. The segment you just heard is our effort to bring to you as much news as possible in a short 20-minute period. If you would like to advertise on that segment, just give us a call, 732-8000. Speak to Joe, Tish, or Dan. They'll set you up with a campaign that'll bring some business through your door simply by advertising on WOCA. You can come by the studios at the Paddock Mall right outside the food court and sit down with one of our sales executives. They'll show you how easy it is to advertise on WOCA, not just on this segment that you just heard, but on any segment of the broadcast day. Not a bad way to invest your money in the business that you've worked so hard to build. We'll take a little break, and Jim George is going to come in just a little bit and teach us about what we do in our homes to stay entertained and communicate with one another through technology. First, Robin, how many stories did we get?
21.
21, not bad,
Yep.
not bad. All right, we'll take a little break and be right back.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
ABC News Now. I'm Karen Chase. Houston, we still have a problem. NASA tried overnight to fix the ailing cooling pump aboard the International Space Station from the ground with no luck. Agency officials are now considering spacewalks to fix it manually next week. Twitter has backtracked away from a new blocking function after facing a bitter backlash from users. Under the change, blocked people could still tweet you, but it would be blocked from your view. One user compared it to a security system that lets burglars in while blindfolding you. Winter weather warnings and advisories are up in 20 states as a storm system slowly crawls from coast to coast, spreading misery from the Midwest to the Northeast today and tomorrow. Fordham University is apologizing to 2,500 people who were sent financial aid forms suggesting they'd been accepted when they hadn't. They blame a third-party contractor for the error. Somebody could get really lucky this Friday the 13th. The Mega Millions jackpot drawing is worth $400 million. The lump sum payment would be $216 million. Lottery officials may raise the total even higher later. This is ABC News.
Do you know what that sound is? That's your new digital marketing department. And that'll be your new web designer. And that's Haibu, where these experts are joined by many more, from web designers to search marketing specialists who work hard to get your business noticed online and on mobile. Best of all, Haibu can do it all for you, or give you the tools to do it yourself. To find out more, go to haibu.com. That's HIBU.com, or call 877-938-HIBU. Oh, that'll be your next new customer. Haibu, made for business.
Geico presents another helpful message from your conscience.
As your conscience, I want to chat with you about saving money on car insurance by switching to Geico. People love Geico. Why do you think they have a 97% customer satisfaction rating? Because great service and saving money is satisfying. More satisfying than taking pens from work. So switch to Geico. And remember, someone has to order pens for the office. Don't make it harder on them.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Life jackets save lives. Where in Florida? It'll be a beautiful day today with partly sunny skies, the high 69 to 73. Then partly cloudy tonight, low 58 inland, 65 along the coast. Tomorrow, partly sunny, breezy and warm. There may be a shower along the coast, dry elsewhere, the high 78 to 82. Sunday, variable cloudiness and warm with a shower or two, highs in the 70s to near 80. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
On December 21st, join us for the WOCA Jingle Ball, an evening at the Appleton Museum. From 6:30 to 8:30 p.m., come enjoy the beautiful collection of colorful trees, nutcrackers, and countless decorations throughout the Appleton Museum. Musicians from the Ocala Symphony Orchestra will be performing throughout the first floor exhibits, while you are enjoying holiday entertainment and culinary delights. Your donation will help provide